Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Boss Economics World, the only show that takes the dumpster fire of global finance, douses it in kerosene, and lights a match just to see how high the flames can go. I'm your host, the guy who reads economic reports so you don't have to, and today, oh boy, do we have a doozy of a story. It's 2025, folks, and the US economy is starting to look like a reality TV show where the contestants are inflation, interest rates, and a certain former president who just can't stop stirring the pot. Grab your popcorn, because we're diving headfirst into the latest economic clown show, Donald Trump versus Lisa Cook, with the Federal Reserve caught in the middle like a deer in headlights. Let's break it down, from the surface-level drama to the deep, dark economic underbelly, and trust me, it's gonna get spicy. First off, let's talk about the headline that's got everyone's tongues wagging. Donald Trump, back in the White House, is trying to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook over allegations that she falsified mortgage documents. Oh, the irony, folks. This is the same Donald Trump who, let's not forget, was convicted in 2024 on multiple counts of falsifying business records. I mean, talk about the pot calling the kettle black, or should I say, the pot calling the kettle a subprime mortgage crisis waiting to happen. But hey, who needs consistency when you've got a reality TV presidency, am I right? Now, for those of you who don't live and breathe central banking drama, first of all, congratulations on having a life, let me give you the quick and dirty. Lisa Cook, the first black woman to serve on the Fed's Board of Governors, is being accused of claiming two different homes as her primary residence on mortgage applications to snag better loan terms. Trump, never one to miss a chance to flex his "you're fired" muscles, says this is grounds for dismissal. Cook, on the other hand, is lawyering up faster than you can say quantitative easing, and the Fed itself is just sitting there, twiddling its thumbs, saying it'll abide by any court decision. Gee, thanks, Fed, real decisive leadership there. But wait, there's more. Trump's not just trying to fire Cook, he's already eyeing replacements, like Stephen Miran, his pick for another Fed seat, who could slide into Cook's spot and give Trump a majority on the Fed's board. A majority, folks. That's right, the man who once suggested the Fed should cut interest rates to negative levels because it'd be tremendous, just tremendous, could soon have the keys to the monetary policy kingdom. What could possibly go wrong? Now, let's zoom out from the soap opera and talk about the first big economic issue here, the independence of the Federal Reserve. For those of you new to the game, the Fed is supposed to be this sacred, untouchable institution, free from political meddling, so it can make tough decisions like raising interest rates to fight inflation without worrying about pissing off whoever's in the White House. But oh no, not on Trump's watch. This guy's treating the Fed like it's an episode of The Apprentice, firing governors left and right and trying to stack the board with loyalists. And let me tell you, folks, this is not just a US problem, this is a global economic red flag. Here's the data to back it up. According to a 2023 study by the International Monetary Fund, countries with less central bank independence, like, say, Turkey, where President Erdogan famously pressured the central bank to slash rates in the middle of an inflation crisis, see inflation rates that are, on average, 8% higher than countries with independent central banks. And guess what? Turkey's inflation hit a whopping 85% in 2022, while the US, with its supposedly independent Fed, was dealing with a peak of 9.1%. Now, imagine what happens if Trump gets his way and turns the Fed into his personal piggy bank. Spoiler alert, it's not gonna be tremendous. And let's not forget, this isn't Trump's first rodeo. Back in 2019, he repeatedly attacked Fed Chair Jerome Powell, calling him clueless and even floating the idea of demoting him. Fast forward to 2025, and he's not just attacking, he's trying to fire people. If this legal battle with Lisa Cook goes Trump's way, it could set a precedent that turns the Fed into a political football, kicked around by whoever's in power. And trust me, folks, when investors start doubting the Fed's independence, they start pulling money out of US markets faster than you can say capital flight. Just look at Argentina. After years of political interference in its central bank, foreign direct investment plummeted by 60% between 2010 and 2020, per World Bank data. Yikes. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about the mortgage allegations against Lisa Cook, because this isn't just a personal scandal, it's a window into a much bigger economic problem. Cook's being accused of claiming two homes as her primary residence to get better mortgage terms. Now, I'm not here to play judge and jury, but let's zoom out and ask the million-dollar question, or should I say, the trillion-dollar question. Why is this kind of thing even possible in 2025, nearly 2 decades after the 2008 financial crisis taught us that mortgage fraud is a one-way ticket to economic Armageddon? Here's the scary part, folks. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, total U.S. mortgage debt hit a record $12.5 trillion in Q2 2025, up from $10.7 trillion in 2020. And guess what? Delinquency rates on subprime mortgages, those risky loans given to folks with shaky credit, are creeping up again, hitting 5.7% in 2025, per the Mortgage Bankers Association. Now, I'm not saying we're on the brink of another 2008-style meltdown, but when you've got a Fed governor, someone who's supposed to be overseeing this stuff, caught up in a mortgage scandal, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence, does it? And here's the kicker, the mortgage market isn't just a US problem, it's a global one. Remember those mortgage-backed securities that tanked the global economy in 2008? Well, they're back, baby. According to a 2024 report by the Bank for International Settlements, global issuance of mortgage-backed securities hit $2.1 trillion in 2023, the highest level since, you guessed it, 2007. So, if there's even a whiff of fraud or mismanagement in the US mortgage market, you can bet your bottom dollar that investors around the world are gonna start sweating bullets. And when investors sweat, markets crash. Just ask Lehman Brothers. Oh wait, you can't, because they're gone. Now, let's get to the juicy part, the politics of it all. Because let's be real, folks, Trump's attempt to fire Lisa Cook isn't just about mortgage documents. It's about power, control, and finding a convenient scapegoat for an economy that, frankly, isn't doing so hot. Inflation in the US is still hovering around 4.2% in 2025, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, well above the Fed's 2% target. Housing affordability is at its worst level in decades, with the median home price hitting $450,000, per the National Association of Realtors. And don't even get me started on the stock market, which has been more volatile than a caffeinated squirrel, with the S&P 500 dropping 12% in the first half of 2025, per Bloomberg data. So, what does a politician do when the economy's a mess? Blame someone else, of course. And who better to blame than a Fed governor, especially one who happens to be a historic first, the first black woman on the board? It's a classic playbook, folks. Trump's out here saying, oh, housing's gonna swing, it's gonna be great, but let's not forget, this is the same guy who promised in 2020 to bring back manufacturing jobs and then watched as manufacturing employment flatlined, per the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. The real issue here isn't Lisa Cook's mortgage, it's the fact that Trump's economic policies, like his massive tax cuts in 2017 and 2025, have ballooned the federal deficit to $35 trillion, per the Congressional Budget Office, while doing squat to fix structural problems like housing affordability or wage stagnation. And let's give a shout out to Senator Elizabeth Warren, who's calling this whole thing an authoritarian power grab. She's not wrong, folks. When you've got a president trying to fire Fed governors, it's not just an attack on one person, it's an attack on the institutions that keep our economy from turning into a banana republic. And trust me, the markets are watching. Just look at the US dollar, which has already lost 3% of its value against a basket of major currencies since this drama started, per the Federal Reserve's DXY index. Investors don't like uncertainty, and Trump's serving it up by the truckload. So, what's the takeaway for you, the average Joe or Jane watching at home, or the finance pros sipping your overpriced lattes in Manhattan? First, if Trump succeeds in turning the Fed into his personal playground, get ready for some wild swings in interest rates, inflation, and maybe even your mortgage payments. Second, if the mortgage market starts looking shaky again, don't be surprised if your 401k takes a hit. Remember, those mortgage-backed securities are still floating around out there, waiting to blow up like a financial piñata. And third, if you're hoping for a president who's gonna fix the economy, well, let's just say you might want to start praying to the ghost of Milton Friedman, because this administration's more focused on reality TV drama than actual policy solutions. And there you have it, folks, another day, another economic circus. Tune in next time, when we'll probably be talking about Trump trying to fire the entire Fed board, or maybe just printing money to buy Greenland. Who knows? Until then, keep your wallets close and your economic skepticism closer. This is Boss Economics World, signing off.